Lending technology has been described as a way of providing loans and banking services to people securely online, as banks and other financial loaning companies can digitally provide customers with a platform to manage loans and its processes through their platforms. However, the process has so far been refined throughout the years that it is a quicker process for both borrowers and companies, just as many fintech companies today are incorporating lending to their services, which has given many customers a convenient and of course speedy experience. Let's understand the prospects and the challenges of the operations of FinTech in Nigeria. Well, I'm being joined live here, I said earlier, is the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Money in Minutes, Mr. George Badejo Adegbenga. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I went through the lending and what it actually means, and I'm going to ask you this way: what really is your core objective? Why are you here?
Okay. As you know, we're a UK-originated firm. We've been operating in the UK for over 20 years. Our mission in Africa, starting with Nigeria, is pretty much to make finance accessible for most hardworking Nigerians, which we all know there is a big gap in that particular space. It's as simple as that.
Interesting. But there have been a lot of issues around the practice. Even lately, we saw the FCPC shutting some of them down, naming people, sending messages and all of that. So how has that affected business, and what can be done to make everything work as it should?
Okay, so in terms of the effect on our business, it's been huge, because it's created a new narrative and everybody expects that you are all the same. And I think one thing that we've realized, and it's very, very clear, but most consumers don't know, is that most of all these predatory lenders are actually not regulated by CBN, right? And most of them have some kind of license, but not the kind of license that creates an expectation that is well overseen by CBN. So this kind of drives the kind of behaviors we're seeing. I think at this point in time, it's great to see the Federal Competition Commission doing something about it, enforcing and shutting these people down. And also, I understand their bank account have been frozen and stuff like that. But many people do not know, whilst we've seen loads of lending apps across the country, we only still have under 100 finance firms regulated by CBN. And I think until you start to see a huge number in that regards, we're still going to kind of be faced with all these illegitimate firms within the country.
I'm still worried that what are other challenges that you face in carrying out your day-to-day activities, your kind of business? What challenges do you face in this part of the world?
Okay, so at Money Minutes, we came last year. We spent pretty much the entirety of last year doing research and trying to find out how we're going to do business in Nigeria. And we identified 3 fundamental issues causing, whether it's the price of lending or making it difficult for people to access finance. The first really has more to do with the lack of consumer data in terms of behavior, right? We've got over 100 million adults in Nigeria, of which less than 10%, or less than 90%, sorry, are within the credit bureau's database. So if you could imagine a lender coming into this space wanting to lend, and they don't have any information on Tayo insofar as its creditworthiness, right? That is kind of the reality. The second is that most Nigerians, right, there are some few Nigerians that really understand this, but most Nigerians do not appreciate or perhaps grasp the benefit of actually taking out a loan and paying on time. I think one of the points you made at the onset is that we've seen this growth in fintechs providing the service. People are kind of overwhelmed by, wow, I can get money. 10 years ago, you need collateral, you go to the bank, you need to provide land. So people are so happy and quick to jump on without really understanding what this really means, right? And so that's the second big issue. And the third is that we just don't have enough legitimate players in the market. And in the absence of that, prices would remain very high. You know, lenders will still need to pay to identify the customers. They'll still need to pay to see their bank statement. They'll still need to pay the credit bureaus for the report, and also still need to pay for disbursement. So all this kind of drive the issue in the country. But thankfully, we've done that research. We've identified what the issue is at Money in Minutes. And the key here is we've now provided product that can help solve all those 3 problems.
Great. We're going to talk about that. I was also thinking about customer data and security. Is also very important. What are you doing along that line?
Yeah, I think for us, you know, we are a company originated from the UK where treating customers fairly is kind of the most important thing, even from the expectation from the regulator. And data security is key. You know about GDPR and the expectations to ensure you protect consumers' data. So we want to come into this country as a thought leader to kind of lead the way insofar as how developed countries do things, right? And I think that is the challenge you get, when you operate in developing countries. There isn't enough regulations, there isn't enough policies to kind of protect consumers, and we can only come and try to lead the way and be that perhaps thought leader and leader in terms of how best to kind of practice.
Brilliant stuff there. But let me now ask you, practically when people see someone like you on television, they would like to know, why is this somehow so difficult at times for individuals getting their first loans and all of that? And some will say the interest rates are always very high. So what's responsible for that?
Very, very good question, Tayo. I think the first is part of the first two points I mentioned before in terms of issues, right? It is really difficult for lenders to really assess who would pay and who would not pay, right? So there is that barrier, right? And that's the reason why all these illegal lenders can actually flourish, because they would take risks that the legitimate business would not take and start to behave in a way they shouldn't. Right, so that kind of is the key insofar as why it's really why it's really difficult to kind of make finance accessible.
All right.
Now, on the point of interest rate, so many people, and this is not necessarily an issue with Nigeria, this is just a norm, right? Okay. Most firms, right, especially those that are perhaps strictly lend business, right, where they don't source deposits at a lower interest rate and pass it on, right? For them to be able to price lending, right, it's to do with the cost of actually issuing that loan and also the anticipated rate of default. Right? So if you think about the challenges we're faced with right now with default, it's naturally going to be expensive to lend until you get to a position where there is enough data and that education piece has been addressed, where, Tolu can take out a loan and know that, I have to pay back, and more of that happening will pretty much get you to a position where interest rates are pretty much way more competitive to the developed countries.
I was just thinking about risk. A lot of risk involved in this. We're talking money here, and some people could take and don't want to pay back. Yes. So how have you been managing that too?
All right, the first thing for us at Money Minute is that we need to ensure we issue loans to those that can afford to repay, right? So unlike some other lenders, in particular the illegal ones, they do not go through the process of establishing what your income is, what your expenditure is, what you're likely going to spend. Even if you say, I spend 10,000 naira, is that reasonable, right? But we do all that, right? We spend enough time trying to understand you as a customer. So Money Minute's model is just not about, this is a loan platform. This is Money Minute's about, become a member so we can know who you are first, and then we can actually determine what kind of product we can actually offer to you.
Brilliant stuff. Now, you're providing an opportunity. Of course, that's what it looks like, to build credit score and all of this. But what does it mean for the customers, and how big is this impact, particularly on their finances? Because many people complain, small businesses and all of them, they keep talking about finance. Yeah,
I think the biggest issue is the lack of it, right? It's really the lack of it, because for you to be able to do any business, you need money, right? So many Nigerians have got great ideas as to how they could move from being poor to being okay. Most Nigerians, right? But the barrier is always the access to finance to be able to do it. If you take into account from where, from the UK where I used to live, right? From getting a mortgage, right, buying a car, even student finance, student loan is what you need to be able to survive. I wouldn't be the man I am today without having access to finance in the UK. And that is what is missing here, right? But those three challenges are the barriers right now, and those are those key areas we need to be focusing on. That's where Money in Minutes comes in.
So you're very sure that this would impact positively on the finances of the business people?
100%. 100%. If you think about one of the product we're about to launch now, we call it a credit builder. The whole idea.
Call us for commercial for this. And what does that do?
Yeah, so credit builder ultimately is looking at the fact that there isn't enough data and there's so many lenders not taking enough risk on consumers. So we're saying, you know what, we're going to take a risk on you, right? But we would not give you what you think you want. We need to kind of take you to a journey where we can actually help educate you on how to manage your finance by taking a risk on a little amount, and we educate you through that process until you get to a point in time where we can say, now you get it, right? Now we need to assess what you can really afford and what do you want to do with the money and stuff like that, so you can then borrow. So is there something like
monitoring and evaluation that that follows up to make sure that the monies are channeled? Because I know, for example, that for the banks of industries, they are bigger banks, but at times they follow up to be sure that I'm going to start a paper factory with this, and I'm sure that I'm starting a paper factory with this. So I'm just asking, the small business, do you also try to monitor and evaluate so that you get returns?
100%. 100%. Wow. That is the entire process, but at a bigger scale, right? Because you're issuing it to consumers directly. So it's, we have a data science department that their job is really looking at how consumers are behaving. But the key here is then going back every now and then and providing them with tips and ideas and also rewards for behaving correctly. And another thing we do, which is not very common in the Nigerian space right now, in the FinTech space, is when you become a member, before you even apply for a loan, we show you what your credit score is, right? And I'm talking of your external credit score. So we take the risk of, we're going to pay for you to see exactly what it looks like now. And then we say, do you want to fix it or not? If you want to fix it, here you go. This is the way forward.
So almost finally, what's your assessment of the market? You've been there for like a year plus now. What's your overview of the Nigerian market? Many people take advantage of our market because of the population. What more?
Well, very, very good question. And I think we're at Money Minutes, we're lucky we've got investors that believe in us and also believe in the country, right? If that wasn't the case, we'll be gone by now, right? Because what we've seen from our research and some of the test products we've done is enough to scare you, right? But you need to kind of really understand why you're coming into the Nigerian space first, understand the problem you're trying to solve, and then stick to it. And I think that's what we're trying to do. But it's a challenging market, but there's loads of work to actually get us to where we need to get to.
So wrapping up now, what's your forecast for the market in the year? You saw my earlier discussion. A lot of global shocks, domestic shocks. So what are you thinking for the market? At least, what else your projection with all of these challenges?
Yeah, I think we're going to carry on seeing a huge demand for finance. Of course. Naturally, right? Not everybody should actually get finance for the reasons you've already discussed. And I think for us, we've introduced a product that we believe would start to fix some of those issues. So even if perhaps you're not credit worthy right now because you took out a loan just before the pandemic and you fell short and your credit score is poor, we will provide you those kind of solutions. So for us, I think it's kind of sticking to our guns, but I expect loads of demand, and we will keep on growing. We would keep on increasing employment within our business, and I think that we should also hope that we're going to be leading in a way that most other lenders would also follow what Money Minutes does to kind of portray reasonable lending in the country.
And proper regulation. I'm excited that the backings of the central bank and all of that makes it very interesting and credible. I must thank you so much for your time making us understand this clearly, and we expect that we'll keep a tab and always know how the process and how it unfolds. I've been speaking to Mr. George Badejo Adegbenga. There is the Chief Executive Officer and also the co-founder of Money in Minutes, there telling us what it means and how money can get out so very quickly. Thank you so much, and do enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Hope to have you again on the show soon.
Thank you. I will look forward to it.
All right.